You ever come home to the sound of your own shower running, when you live alone? And your wife's supposed to be out of town? Yeah. That was the moment everything shifted. But let me back up a bit. So I've been married to Lindsay for, well, just over 11 years. We met when we were both working the same marketing gig back in Dallas. She was fresh out of school, slick talker, sharp dresser, could charm the bark off a tree. Me? I was already settled in the company, bit older, more grounded. We clicked fast, maybe too fast. Got married after 8 months of dating. Everyone told me it was a little reckless, but I figured they were just jealous I'd found someone who laughed at my jokes and didn't mind my morning breath. The first few years were solid. We didn't fight much, sex was decent, vacations were sunny, and she actually seemed to like watching baseball with me. But somewhere along the line, right around year 7 maybe, things started feeling off. I chalked it up to routine at first. You know, married life gets quiet after a while. People don't talk about that part enough. It ain't all weekend trips and wild nights. Sometimes it's just reheated lasagna and falling asleep during reruns. But then came the little things. Always starts with little things. Lindsay used to be open with her phone. Would leave it on the counter, unlocked, while she was in the shower. I never cared to snoop, never even thought to. But about a year ago, she suddenly got real private. Started flipping the screen down when she left it, even around me. Got a new lock code. Claimed it was because someone at work had their phone stolen, and she just wanted to be careful. Reasonable, right? But still, it felt weird. She also started working out more. Like, a lot more. Now, don't get me wrong, I was happy she was taking care of herself, but this woman had never once enjoyed a gym in our entire marriage. Then boom, 5 days a week she's out at 6 a.m. for a spin class, or boot camp, or some other torture with a cutesy name. She said it helped her anxiety. I nodded and said, "Good for you," while quietly wondering when exactly she got so anxious. Then came the clothes. My wife always dressed well, but suddenly her wardrobe turned, how should I say, younger. Tighter? A little more suited for a girl's night out than a day at the office. She'd leave for work in heels I didn't know she owned and blouses that showed off just enough to make me arch an eyebrow. When I mentioned it, she laughed and said, "What, you don't like it? I thought you wanted me to be confident." Well, sure, I did. But confidence doesn't usually come with a fresh Brazilian wax and a new set of push-up bras. Now, I still wasn't ready to accuse her of anything. Hell, maybe she was just hitting a new phase. People evolve. Women especially. They rediscover themselves, get into fitness, make new friends. But you'd have to be blind not to notice the whole vibe changed. She was more distant at home, barely touched me anymore unless it was for a quick peck or to hand me the remote. Our bedroom had become more like 2 separate motel beds on a family road trip. But I played dumb. I wasn't ready to know the truth yet, if there even was one. Then something happened that really threw me off. We were at dinner with a couple friends, Kevin and Sheila, folks we've known for years. Lindsay was drinking more than usual, laughing a little louder, leaning into stories that I swear she used to find boring. When Sheila mentioned a new sushi place downtown, Lindsay chimed in quick with, "Oh yeah, I've been there. Great lighting, they do this cool sake pairing thing." Except, we hadn't been. Not together anyway. And Lindsay hated sushi. Always said raw fish creeped her out. I raised an eyebrow and asked when she went. She hesitated. Just for a second. "Oh, a work lunch," she said. "Team outing. We try new spots sometimes." Seemed harmless. But I watched her fidget with her napkin the rest of the meal. Like she knew she tripped up. Later that night, when we got home, I asked her about it again. Casually. "So you're eating sushi now?" I said, half laughing. She shrugged it off and gave me a kiss on the cheek. I tried a bite. Didn't love it. But it was fun. Then she disappeared into the bathroom, phone in hand. I could feel the space growing between us, even when we were sitting on the same couch. Then came the kicker. She started going out on girls' nights again. At first, I welcomed it. Told myself she needed to blow off steam, reconnect with her friends. She'd come home buzzed, smelling like cheap wine and Sephora samples, and would usually crash without much conversation. But there was this one night in particular that got under my skin. She left around 7, all dolled up, said she was meeting Courtney, and Tasha told me not to wait up. So I didn't. Next morning, I asked how it went. She paused, then said, "Oh, Tasha bailed, but Courtney and I went to this new bar near her place. Super chill. You'd hate it. Loud music and hipsters everywhere." Sounded made up. So, just out of curiosity, I checked Courtney's Instagram that night while Lindsay was asleep. Not a single damn post from that evening. In fact, she was posting from a wedding, one she clearly traveled for, judging by the hotel selfies. That meant Courtney wasn't even in town. Which meant Lindsay either forgot her own lie, or just didn't care if I noticed. I didn't say anything. Not yet. But that knot in my gut twisted a little tighter. Now here's the real kicker, the part that made me start planning, not just wondering. She asked me, out of nowhere, if I'd be okay with her going on a solo weekend trip. Said she needed to clear her head, and maybe get a little spa time. Claimed Courtney had recommended this fancy place upstate. I asked if she wanted me to come. She smiled, too fast, and said, "No, baby. You'd be bored. It's just gonna be massages and silence." So I played it cool. Told her to enjoy herself. Helped pack her bag. Kissed her on the forehead like a good husband. But that weekend? I didn't go fishing like I told her I would. I stayed put. And I waited. Let's just say, the silence she wanted so badly? She's gonna wish she'd taken me with her after all. After Lindsay's little me-time weekend, she came home floating on air like nothing had changed. She was humming a tune I didn't recognize, talking about how peaceful everything was, how sometimes you just need space to breathe. Said it like I'd been crowed in her, when really I'd been given her all the room in the world. She kissed me on the cheek, told me she missed me, then wandered off into the kitchen and poured herself a glass of wine like it was just another Friday night. If I didn't know any better, I'd think she actually believed the story she was telling. But me? I was starting to notice the things she wasn't saying. We'd always been the kind of couple that shared dumb little things. What she overheard at the store, who said what at work, some random videos she laughed too hard at. Not important stuff. But that was the glue. That's how you know what's going on in a person's head. Now? Silence. She stopped talking about her day unless I asked. And even then, her answers were short, wrapped up in pretty little bows. Busy day, nothing special. Met with clients, same old, same old. Always with a smile that looked good but didn't reach her damn eyes. But hey, people go through funks. I try not to read too deep. I really did. Then her phone started acting like it owed her rent. It never left her side. She'd carry it from room to room like it was glued to her palm. I joked about it once. "You ever think about putting that thing down?" And she shot me a look sharp enough to peel paint off a truck. "I have work emails, babe. Sorry I don't get to tune out like you." Ah, right. Me and my simple life. One night I noticed she started locking the bathroom door again. Now that might not seem like much, but after 11 years, we'd hit that level where privacy was kinda optional. I'd walk in to brush my teeth while she was in the tub, she'd pluck her eyebrows while I shaved. Married life. You stop thinking about it. But suddenly? Lock every time. Even if she was just washing her face. And she always took her phone in there with her. Every single time. Couple nights later, I walked by the bathroom on my way to the garage. She was inside, water running. I paused, just out of habit, and heard something that stopped me cold. She was Logan. Not a little chuckle. Not a quiet, polite giggle. This was one of those soft, flirty, head-tilted laughs. The kind she used to say for me when I told a dumb joke at dinner, and she pretended I was the funniest man on earth. But there I was, standing alone in the hallway, hearing her laugh at someone else. She came out 10 minutes later with a towel on her head and a blank look like nothing happened. I didn't ask. And she didn't offer. Then there was the weirdness with her schedule. Lindsay's job was mostly remote, but every now and then she'd have to head into the office or meet a client. That was normal. But she started using it as a catch-all excuse. Like clockwork. Any time she was out of the house longer than she planned, meeting ran over. Traffic was nuts. Stopped to grab a coffee. Fine, sure. Except one night she came home and said she was wiped out from sitting in a conference room all afternoon. I believed her, until I saw her shoes. Bone dry. Clean. It had been storming all day. There's no parking garage at her office. No covered walkways. If she'd actually been downtown, those heels would have looked like she'd stomped through a damn puddle parade. I stared at Em for a second longer than I probably should have, and she caught me. What? She said, brows up, defensive. Nothing, I said. Just admiring the shine. She looked at me for a moment. Smiled. Kissed my cheek again. That kiss was getting a little too familiar. A quick peck, no heat behind it. Felt like someone clocking in at a job they didn't want no part of anymore. Another thing, she started talking in her sleep again. She used to do that years ago, when she was stressed. Mostly nonsense. Half sentences. But now it was different. Softer. Quieter. One night I caught something that sounded like, "No, don't," followed by a sigh and a name I couldn't quite catch. Might have been Jay. Might have been Babe. Might have been nothing. But it sure as hell wasn't me. I lay there, wide awake, listening to her breathe, trying not to let my thoughts get carried away. Because again, no proof. No texts. No lipstick on a collar. Just weird vibes and half-baked moments. But you know what they say about instincts. They don't scream. They whisper. And by then, mine were whispering real loud. That Sunday, we were sitting in the living room, her scrawling on her phone, me pretending to care about a football game that I couldn't be named the score of if you paid me, and she let out a quiet little sigh. Not dramatic. Not even enough to notice if I wasn't watching her close. "You all right?" I asked. She looked up, like she forgot I was there. "Yeah. Just tired, that's all." Then she smiled again. That same plastic smile. And I smiled right back. Because I knew something was off. I knew there was a thread hanging somewhere, waiting to be pulled. But I also knew I couldn't yank it too early. Not yet. Whatever this was, whatever game she was playing, I had to wait. Because the truth? It don't need your help to come out. You just gotta be patient. And when the time's right? It walks through the front door all on its own. Things didn't fall apart all at once. They never do. It was more like watching wallpaper peel, slow, quiet, and easy to ignore if you don't stare too long. Lindsay had this way of being present without really being there. She still laughed at my jokes, still texted me, "Love you," when she was running late, still asked if I needed anything from the store. But it all felt hollow. Like muscle memory. She was checking the boxes, but the woman behind the gestures wasn't mine anymore. At least, not all the way. One thing that stuck out was how quick her mood would swing. She'd be chipper in the morning, snapping pictures of her coffee for that little Instagram page she kept up, then ice cold by dinner. I'd ask if something was wrong, and she'd look at me like I'd just accused her of killing the cat. "You're always looking for drama," she said once, stirring a pot of chili without even glancing my way. I wasn't. I just missed her. That's the thing she didn't get. It wasn't about being suspicious. It was about feeling like I was trying to talk to someone through a damn glass wall. I tried bringing back little traditions. Stopped at her favorite bakery one Friday. Picked up that lemon tart she used to crave when things were good between us. She smiled when I handed it to her. Said, "Thanks, babe." Kissed me on the cheek, and put it in the fridge. She never ate it. Couple days later, I found it in the trash. Still sealed, still sitting in the box like it had been forgotten. Not moldy or spoiled, just untouched. It's funny how something so small can hit so hard. But I stared at that damn box in the garbage like it was a headstone. She started hiding her laundry. We used to toss everything in one basket. I'd do a load if I had time, she'd do it if she did. Didn't matter whose was whose. Now she had a separate hamper in the back of the closet. Said it was for delicates. I respected the privacy at first. Some things ain't a man's business. But even that changed. One day I was digging around looking for an old hoodie, and I knocked the hamper over by accident. A couple things spilled out, just clothes, nothing scandalous. But when I tried to pick it up and put them back, she came into the room and just froze. "Don't touch that," she snapped. Not playful, not teasing. Just sharp. I backed off. "Didn't mean to, just bumped it." She grabbed the stuff off the floor, shoved it back in, and carried the whole bin into the bathroom. Like it needed protection. I sat there on the edge of the bed, not saying a word. Just listening to the sound of the washer kicking on behind the door. Her sleep changed too. Used to be she'd curl up next to me without thinking, tuck her feet under mine, hold my hand, mumble something about her day before drifting off. Now she stayed on her side. Light sleeper, she claimed. Said I was tossing too much. I offered to sleep in the guest room one night, and she didn't even argue. Just said, "Do what you want." So I did. I laid there on that stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence in the house that used to be ours. There was a Sunday dinner at her parents' place. She almost forgot to tell me about it, brought it up in passing like it was a dentist appointment. "You don't have to come if you're tired," she said. "I know you've had a long week." I went anyway. The whole time, she acted like nothing was wrong. Poured wine, laughed at her dad's bad jokes, held my hand under the table once just for show. But I caught her checking her phone every 10 minutes. Thumb hovering over the screen like she was waiting for someone. After dessert, I saw her step outside. Said she needed air? I followed a minute later, just casual. She was leaning on the porch railing, phone to her ear, talking soft. When she saw me, she ended the call quick. "Just Rachel," she said before I could ask. "She's going through stuff." I nodded. "Hope she's all right." She didn't answer. Just went back inside like nothing happened. That night she left her purse on the couch while she showered. Now I didn't go digging through it. I swear on my life I didn't. But the zipper was half open, and her wallet was sitting on top. Peeking out was a receipt, from a dinner for two, not from here. Some steakhouse out by the lake, the kind of place you make a reservation for. I'd never been. I didn't touch it. Just stared for a moment, then sat back down and turned the volume up on the game. She came out, towel in her hair, asking what the score was. I gave her the update, and a smile like I hadn't seen a damn thing. Later that week, she told me she had another trip coming up. Just for the weekend. Real estate convention. "I'll be back Monday." I asked if she wanted me to drive her to the airport. She shook her head. "No, it's fine. I'll just leave the car in long term." I told her all right. Said I'd be here when she got back. She smiled. That same practiced smile I was starting to resent more than anything. Then she packed her things, double-checked her makeup, and left with a kiss that didn't even touch my lips. And just like before, I watched her go. Didn't chase. Didn't accuse. Didn't yell. Just sat there, waiting for the pieces to finally fall where I knew they were heading. Because sometimes, you don't have to go looking for the truth. You just gotta leave the door unlocked and let it walk in when it's ready. The weekend she left, the house got real quiet. I didn't realize how much of her noise I'd gotten used to, shoes clicking down the hallway, her podcast playing in the bathroom while she put on makeup, the hum of her voice on those work calls that somehow all sounded the same. Without it, the place felt hollow. I kept the TV on most of the time. Not to watch, just to have some kind of sound in the room. I didn't sleep much. Didn't eat much either. Not 'cause I was depressed or broken down, I just didn't feel like pretending everything was normal. 'Cause it wasn't. Saturday morning, I sat on the back porch with my coffee, staring out at the tree line. It had rained the night before, and the grass had that fresh, damp smell that usually made me feel grounded. That morning, though, it just reminded me how easy it is to wash things away. I thought about calling her, texting her, maybe saying I missed her. But I didn't. Didn't want to hear another lie dressed up as love. She sent a couple texts that day, just check-ins. Nothing warm. Nothing soft. Just, landed safe. And later, long day. Going to bed early. Love you? I replied short, same as her. No use puttin' more, and then I was getting back. That night I cracked a beer, went out to the garage to work on a cabinet I'd been neglectin'. Felt good to focus on something that didn't talk back. Something I could fix. Halfway through sanding the edge of the drawer, I found myself smilin'. Not 'cause I was happy, but 'cause I was startin' to feel clear. That kind of stillness you get when you stop running the same tired question through your head. Is she? Isn't she? By that point, the answer didn't matter as much. What mattered was how far gone she already was, even if she didn't know it yet. Sunday came and went. No calls. Just one text around noon. Heading out to a group dinner. Hope you're having a chill day. That word, chill. She never used to talk like that. It sounded like someone else's voice in her mouth. I left her on read. First time I'd ever done that. It felt honest. That evening, I went to our closet, took a good long look at all her stuff, her jackets, her boots, that stack of worn paperbacks she never finished. I didn't do anything dramatic. Didn't throw her things out, didn't set fire to her memory. I just stood there and tried to remember the last time I really felt like I knew the woman those things belonged to. It had been a while. She came home late Monday. Said her flight got delayed. Looked tired, but not in the way that comes from travel. More like the tired you get from keeping a story straight for too long. She tossed her bag in the laundry room, pulled out her phone like she was waiting on a message, then asked if we had eggs. We did. She didn't cook any. That night, she sat next to me on the couch. Not too close. Legs crossed away from me, her body half turned like she was there out of duty, not want. We watched some detective show she used to love. She didn't laugh once. Just scrolled through her phone with one hand, eyes barely on the screen. At one point I looked at her and said, "You all right?" She blinked like she hadn't heard me. "HM? Yeah. Just tired." I nodded. "Tired a lot lately," I said, more to myself than her. She didn't respond. A few days later, she started mentioning a new coworker. Guy named Drew. Said he was fresh out of grad school, sharp kid, full of ideas. She brought him up a lot. Not in an obvious way. Not with blushes or stutters. Just little mentions. "Drew said this, Drew showed me this app, Drew has a weird cat." I didn't say a damn thing. Just tucked the name away in the back of my mind, right next to Jake and Taylor and Rachel. Just another ghost floating through her half-truths. One night, she came in after work wearing a necklace I hadn't seen before. Real simple, silver, delicate, just a little stone in the middle. Not flashy. Not expensive. Just new. I asked her, "Where'd that come from?" She looked down like she'd forgotten it was there. Then shrugged. "Oh. I think I've had it for a while. Found it in my old jewelry box." I nodded. "Looks new." She gave a little smirk. "Well, maybe I just never wore it before." Right. I stopped asking questions after that. Not 'cause I didn't care, but because I knew the answers wouldn't be real. When you live with a liar long enough, you stop trying to catch him slipping. You start listening for the silence between the lies. That's where the real story sits. And hers was screaming loud. Then, about a week later, she told me she'd be gone Friday night. "Staying at the office late," she said. "We're doing an overnight strategy thing. Brainstorming, late delivery, all that startup hustle crap." She rolled her eyes like she hated it. Like she was being dragged into it. I nodded. Told her to take care. She smiled again. The kind of smile you give a man who doesn't ask for the truth anymore. And that was fine by me. Because what she didn't know is I already had Friday off. She didn't ask what I was doing. Didn't think I'd be home early. Didn't think I'd change my plans. Didn't think I'd have any reason to. She was wrong. I left work a little after 2 that Friday. Told my boss I had some house stuff to handle. He didn't ask questions. Drove home slow, windows down, letting the breeze fill the truck while my mind ran every damn direction at once. I wasn't even sure what I was expecting. Maybe nothing. Maybe something. I didn't know if she'd be there, if she'd really pulled some late-night work thing, or if I was just driving home to another empty house and a couple more lies. But when I turned onto our street and saw her car in the driveway, my chest got real still. She wasn't supposed to be home. Not till late. She told me that straight to my face. I parked down the block, shut off the engine. Just sat there with my hands on the wheel. Heart was pounding, but not in that angry way. It was cold. Heavy. Like I already knew what I was walking into. I walked up the side yard. Went around the back, quiet, like I was sneaking into someone else's life. Light was on upstairs. Bedroom window cracked open. I couldn't hear much, but I saw movement. Shadow on the wall. 2 of them. And right there, standing in the dark of my own yard, I knew. Not guessed. Not suspected. Knew. I didn't kick in the door. Didn't make a scene. I unlocked it same as always, stepped inside, took off my boots. Walked up the stairs like I was coming home from the store. The door to our bedroom was halfway shut. I could hear her now, soft laugh, breathy, the same one she used to give me in the early days, back when everything still felt brand new. The sound of a voice I hadn't heard in a long, long time. Then his voice. Not loud. Not deep. Just there. Too casual for what it was. I pushed the door open. And there they were. She was on top of him. Both of them half-dressed, tangled in our sheets, the ones I had washed 2 nights ago. She looked up and froze. Like a deer. Eyes wide, mouth open, no words coming out. He jumped up, trying to cover himself, like that was the part one wasn't supposed to see. I didn't yell. I didn't move. I just stood there, hand on the doorframe, looking at the woman I married and the man who thought he was invisible. Her voice cracked first. I thought you were at work. I just nodded. Yeah. I was. He said something, tried to mumble out an apology or explanation or hell, maybe a prayer. I didn't care. I wasn't looking at him. Just her. She reached for the sheet like it mattered. Like modesty was gonna save her now. I didn't mean for. I held up a hand. Don't. She went quiet. And in that moment, all the things I'd felt, the suspicion, the ache, the hours of silence and second-guessing, they just left. It was like a door slammed shut inside me, and everything on the other side of it was gone. Not hate. Not sadness. Just done. I turned around. Walked downstairs. Sat at the kitchen table for a while, just listening to the muffled sounds of panic from above. She didn't come down. Neither did he. Eventually, I stood up. Took off my ring. Left it on the counter next to the coffee machine. Wrote one line on a sticky note. You made your choice. Then I grabbed a duffel bag, packed what I needed, and left. Didn't slam the door. Didn't look back. That was 3 weeks ago. She's called. Texted. Emailed. Left voicemails filled with tears, apologies, excuses. Said it didn't mean anything. Said it was a mistake. Said she still loved me. I haven't answered a single one. I don't need to. Because now, I sleep through the night. I eat what I want. Laugh when something's funny. Fix what's broken without wondering where she is or who she's with. Truth is, I didn't lose anything worth keeping. And somehow? That feels a hell of a lot like winning.